Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week, you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. We're all in for a treat on this show of Whitetail Rendezvous. Ryan Broshear joins us from Nashville, and he's an independent recording artist. And Billboard Magazine says he's doing one heck of a job. And he's got some interesting takes on what it takes to be a country and western singer. But more important than that, he's got a whitetail heritage tradition from his grandfather and his dad that lives with him today. And he always looks forward to going back to Indiana or Ohio and catching up with his family, spending a few days and sitting around and telling stories and sitting in a stand and chasing whitetails. Enjoy the show, folks. Hey, folks, this is Bruce Hutchin, your host and executive producer of Whitetail Rendezvous. And we're heading down to Nashville, and we're going to meet up with Ryan Broshear. And Ryan is in the recording out in Nashville. He's got some songs we're going to talk about as we go along. He's originally hails out of Ohio. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, and I had a great warm up. And folks, I was telling old stories about Merle Haggard, and Ryan, you played with Merle Haggard, or were on stage with him.
I got to do a show with Merle Haggard, and I'm a huge Merle fan, and that was just one of the most incredible opportunities. And when I met him, I was gonna have my picture taken with him, and I was kind of standing by him. And I've gotten my picture taken with a lot of big stars, but Merle's kind of in a class by himself. So I had my arm out, and I didn't know if I should put my arm around him or if I should not touch the hag. Should I touch the hag? And I ended up just kind of suspending my arm in the air and kind of making it look like I was touching him. But I don't get nervous, but that made me nervous. It was pretty incredible.
Well, and somebody like that, a legend, and I can see where anybody might get nervous.
Yeah, that was one of the times. I mean, it was, but man, couldn't ask for a more cool guy. It was one when you meet your heroes, you hope that they're gonna stand up to what you wish that they would, and he did not disappoint.
Well, that's awesome. And folks, we're going to cover a lot of ground. We're going to talk about Ryan's career and his music, and we're going to start off with the hunting tradition back in Ohio and what that meant to you, and how you're carrying it forward today.
Yeah, I kind of grew up like many people. My dad taught me, how to hunt, and we did a lot of hunting from rabbit hunting to duck hunting. But we were blessed to have about 40 acres of wooded area, and so we got to do some deer hunting as well. And just being in nature was something that was important in our family, and spending time, with it. And of course, we love to eat what we brought home as well. So definitely started at an early age for me.
Now, were you a trophy hunter back then, or just, hey, let's put the meat on the table?
Well, I think that it was a scenario where my dad would have loved for me to shoot the trophy buck, but at the same point, his scouting and his hard work to get the trophy buck, it would have been bittersweet for him. Um, I I I never ended up getting one with my dad, but we had a good time trying, and it was shoot what you can shoot, and we normally would go out during muzzle loading season, and it's the he kind of got on me one time because I didn't take a shot, but it would seem like it was too far away. But he said, with that muzzle loader, you could shoot it. I was about 14 years old when I first went out, so but it was an awesome memory I'll never forget.
What are some of the memories that you have taken forward, as well as lessons learned from your hunting career?
Well, you know, some of the lessons that I've learned early on is to be prepared. if you're not prepared and you get out into the woods or you get out into a duck blind or wherever it may be that you're hunting, you're just not ready to focus in and be in the moment. And so preparation is a big thing for me that I've learned, and just getting started early. Whether it be getting up early in the morning and making sure that you're in the stand way before first light, so that you're not making a ton of noise and you've let the woods calm back down before you're ready to start hunting. Just preparation is probably the biggest thing I've learned it with everything.
I guess you might say that you can transfer that to the music business because there must be a gazillion things that have to happen before you hit that first chord.
Oh my gosh, that's what you really get paid for. Because when you hit the first chord and you start the song, then you're having fun. But you know, getting getting to the place on time. I mean, you're traveling, 4, 5, 600 miles or more in a lot of circumstances, and you have to be, prepared for traffic or backups or breakdowns or whatever life throws at you. You know what happens on your normal daily life, and you go on a trip. So, just being packed up, when you get out to a show and you forget your cowboy boots, it's not a good thing. And done that fairly recently. But it's I think that's the same with anything in life. Just making sure that you're prepared to go accomplish the goals that you're setting forth, whether it be to shoot a trophy buck or go put on a great show in front of thousands of fans.
When we're talking about music, why did you get started in music? What was the driver for you?
Well, for me, it that again started with my family. They had country music on the radio all the time. My dad was a foreman for a construction company, and so he would get up extremely early and to call all his guys. And his ritual was to, smoke his morning cigarette and have a cup of coffee and listen to country music. So I woke up to it a lot of the times, about 4 or 5 in the morning, and so those songs were permeating me at a young age, and I just fell in love with the stories behind the songs. And he would actually put a record on the record player and tell me play a song like George Strait's "Love Without End, Amen" to tell me he loved me. He wasn't much with words, but he loved to share music and the stories behind it, and that's kind of how he taught me lessons in life. And so that was a big thing for me early on. And then about 12 years old, I saw Garth Brooks perform for the first time on TV, and that caught my eye. It looked super exciting, and I got a guitar that Christmas. And by 14, I had my first band, and I fell in love with it. And so that's kind of just being on the stage and in the spotlight was, an exciting thing for me, and that's where it all began.
Well, going to Nashville, I don't know how many people show up with stars in their eyes and a song, on their lips. And, I'm gonna do this thing. It's kind of, I'm thinking about DIY elk hunting or deer hunting, doesn't matter. Go into a brand new parcel of land and say, I'm going to kill the biggest buck on this sucker. Sometimes it happens, and most times it doesn't.
Yeah.
So how do you cope with that?
Well, you've got to be secure in who you are to go out and do this. I first moved to Nashville in 2000, and I took a year worth of lumps then, and kind of moved back home and regrouped. Moved back in late 2001 to 2002. Took another year crack at it. Life threw me a lot of curveballs, and I kind of went back home and thought that I had kind of given up. But I met a woman who I'm now married to and have been with for the last, since 2004. So we, have created a pretty good team. And I came home from playing a show at a local bar in Cincinnati area. And she said, "Do you want to just play cover music in bars, or do you want to really follow your dream?" And I said, "Well, I really would like to follow my dream." And she pushed me, and we moved back. But you kind of got to just do it. You dive in, and you got to be secure in who you are, and just know what you're setting out to accomplish, and know that the odds are against you, but you really don't care. You just got to go do it. And I've worked hard to do this business, and I'm not the top level superstar. I'm not making making much money doing it at this point in my career, but the things that I've gotten to do and the roads that my guitar and my music has taken me down, I wouldn't trade for nothing. It's been an incredible ride so far.
So the experience and the learning, I would assume you've had a tremendous amount of learning,
Oh yeah.
has superseded the income. How does the income come? I mean, not everybody's going to have a gold label record or somebody in the top, 10. But so how do people make it in your industry?
Well, people make it a lot of hard work and just kind of putting in their paying their dues. And, it comes from a lot of times live performance is a big income generator. You also have your music that's streaming. It's, that is very small aggregates of money per stream. And there's fights for rights of songwriters on behalf of that with different performing rights organizations. But, it can come from iTunes sales, streaming, merchandise sales, your T-shirts, your hats, your album sales, and your live performances. So, it's really you just work hard to put that all together to build it into one big pot, and hopefully you come out ahead. And we haven't made it rich, but it's been enough to keep the wheels moving.
Yeah, and I think of labels when somebody gets signed to a label, that's pretty much what the top 10% of everybody in your industry.
Yeah, but even, getting signed to a label with the way the labels work, a lot of times you might get some money up front, but they're recouping their money from spending it on your album, your creation of your album, or to promote your music. Every cup of coffee they drink while doing it, they charge you back. So I mean, the label thing's a great deal. I would love to sign with a record label, but at the same point, there are a lot of artists who actually choose not to cut partner with a record label because they've done so much on their own. Partnering with a record label might actually cut back on the money that they're making. So, it's a dream I would have to have a team of people that would do all the hard work involved and just let me go out and be an artist, but not at the sacrifice of losing control of being able to choose what songs and write my songs and kind of what I choose to, show myself as an artist. I just, so I've been blessed to be able to be an independent artist so far in my career and, write my own songs and choose what goes onto an album and what comes out. I think there's something to be said for being able to choose that.
Now, when you write a song, you can write songs for other people and get paid for it, right?
Yeah, that's something that I've worked on. We've got, I've got some relationships with some songs, trying to pitch them to other people. So far, I haven't gotten any cuts by anybody else at this point, but from what normally I see that happens is once you kind of get discovered and you get that first one, then all of a sudden people are looking at your catalog and what you've got going on and are interested in maybe cutting one of those. So I'm in the process now of just writing new stuff and pitching those songs and trying to put them in front of people who may want to use them for their projects.
Now, when you write a song, do you have to have all the notes and everything, or do you have to run it out, sing it yourself? I don't know what the
Uh,
word is.
well, a lot of times I'll write a melody and the lyrics out to where I could sing it in my phone, but I don't yet have like a guitar backing it or all the music to it yet. And then I'll build the music in later. Sometimes you'll write a song where you're strumming the guitar and you make the words up to that music as you go along. Every song's a little different. For me, I kind of do a lot of figuring out the melody and the words and what I want to say before I start worrying about the guitar, and then I throw that in later. I make notes on my phone and stuff like that. So, but each song has its own life that it begins as.
So when you write a song, you know, all this stuff is like writing a story or anything else. It comes from within. It amazes me in this industry. Somebody has to write every single song that Garth Brooks sings or Keith Urban
Yeah,
sings or pick
yeah,
somebody. And it's just amazing because they're kind of like the screenwriters of Hollywood. Without somebody being a screenwriter, there ain't no movie. There isn't a movie.
exactly. Well, and A lot of times I kind of think as if I've got a song that there's a character in it, I kind of think of it like a Hollywood movie. Like, where does that camera first pan in on this character? Or how are you first meeting this character? Is he at a bar? Is he driving in his car? Is he, out in the country? Is he in his deer stand? Whatever it may be. But where that story begins, I think of it like a movie in that regards because I am telling a story and we're putting it to a melody. That's really what it's all about.
And I'm just thinking. I work with some veterans groups. Have you ever been approached by a veterans group to do a song so they could make money off that song?
I haven't been approached by any veterans groups to write any songs. No, I've got to perform for a lot of veterans groups, and I'm my hats off to our veterans for sure. But so far, I haven't been approached to write any specific songs. A lot of times, but I have had a song get put into a movie. But they found my song online and it fit what they were doing. So, I guess I would be open to anything if it came along.
Yeah, so folks, it's there's a lot of guys out there and warriors in the woods. I can't pick up everybody right now, but listeners, if you're involved with some of these veterans groups, I'm sure you could get a hold of Ryan. How would they get a hold of you if they wanted you to chit chat?
You can reach me through my website, ryanbroshear.com. There's a spot to contact me, but I'm available to be reached on different social media. I'm at Ryan Broshear on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook.
All right, so reach out to him because this guy's got it going on, and I like who he is, and I think if one person picks up the phone, then it's going to make his hour on Whitetail Rendezvous beneficial, and he can capitalize. But I think he tells the story well, folks. I've listened to some of his stuff prepping for his show, and he tells a good story, and that's what all these veteran groups that I'm aware of want to do. So, check it out and think about it.
Yeah, songs like that. When you get into a song like that, it would be an extreme honor to do. It would definitely to capture that moment and some of the stories of some of the veterans and things like that would be incredible to hear. I know that there's a handful of decent songs out there that have been written from that point of view, but I'd be willing to undertake any challenge and maybe build a relationship with someone along the way.
Yeah, it's a huge audience. You and I know that. And millions of dollars are spent supporting all different groups. And so enough on that. If you got an interest, get a hold of Ryan and see where it goes. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about deer management in the warm up. You said that's one of the things you wanted to talk about. And
Yeah.
what's that mean to you?
Well, whether it be, um, I'm pretty fortunate to be around some knowledgeable guys. My father-in-law and my brother-in-law have been managing their property. They've got a couple hundred acres in Indiana, and just watching deer populations and watching the health of them, whether it be planting a food plot, and making sure that you have a good spot to get good nourishment to the deer around. I kind of pretty fortunate to grow up in Southern Ohio and, be around, Southeast Indiana where the whitetail get really big, off of the cornfields and the bean fields that are out there and the food resources. There's some other parts of the country where their whitetail are a little bit smaller than what we have in that area. And certainly, you can see a direct correlation with the nutrition and that you provide for your deer and the cover that they have in order to grow. But just responsible hunting practices. There's unfortunately the guys that don't take it seriously and they spotlight at night and shoot with high powered rifles and harvest the large bucks and just kind of take them. It's not sporting, and it's just if I could talk to anybody, just hey, let's manage our resource a little bit better and let's make sure that there's a future herd of nice sized bucks. And healthy animals that are out there for you and me to go hunt.
Yeah, and well said, because many times we lose the buck of a lifetime on our property just because somebody does exactly what you did. They see it, they shoot it, they throw it in the back of their truck or whatever, and they're gone. And it's like they just one stole from me, but they stole the adventure, the dream, the whole memory, if you will, from it. So have I made mistakes hunting? Heck yeah, I'll be the first to admit it. But when you look at overall, we're losing people in the hunting industry every single year. Thousands and thousands of people aren't hunting. And we have to crank that back up the other way for a lot of reasons. And one of
Yeah,
the ways to do that is just say, hey, this is the way it is. This is how we're going to play the game. And, we invite you to join us to do that. Because you and I both know that there's always going to be people that are takers. There's no question about it. No matter what we do, you catch them, throw them in jail. It doesn't matter. They'll always be takers. But for the most part, you and I and everybody listening, okay, so you don't hunt 5 minutes after shooting light goes out, and
yeah.
you do the right thing for the right reasons. I guess that's what I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that as a whole, hunters there's an integrity that comes along with that, and rules that people follow religiously. I'd say the vast majority of hunters do that, and the ones that do that are upset when somebody, like you said, take the buck of a lifetime off of your land. Something that you might have been watching on a trail cam for the last several years and saying, or maybe passed on that shot when it was a 6 point buck, and it was good looking buck, but you just knew, hey, put another season or two on that guy, and then you see it on your neighbor's wall. It's fine if they took it the right way. It's still a bitter pill to swallow, but it's just something that I couldn't say enough about. Just the integrity of the hunt.
Yeah, one thing you said in the warm up was about farmers and hunting, feeding the hungry.
Yeah, farmers and hunters feeding the hungry, and I think it's fhfh.org if I'm not mistaken. But they reached out to me several years ago and kind of showed an interest in my career, and kind of promoted me a little bit. And but it's a Christian based organization, and they help take the bounty of nature, and they'll harvest a deer and take it to like a food kitchen where a homeless actually can eat, and a deer can feed like 200 people with one deer. So it can provide for those less fortunate and who certainly don't have the resource to be able to go out and hunt. But to be able to get a good healthy meal, and that's provided by God, and by our by nature. It's pretty awesome organization, and I was grateful they reached out to me. I kind of follow them along, and we kind of help each other out this time of year as we kind of get going into it, and just kind of give a little shout out to them.
Yeah. Now, do you help promote them, or what's your role with them?
We've kind of both helped promote each other. They've kind of drawn attention to shows that I might be in the area at times, or I've kind of promoted them with some of my followers who, might go out and they don't have room in the freezer to put two deer in, or, they may have their buck and like, they can't go back out to get a buck. So, kind of encourage them, hey, why don't you go out and maybe get a doe and maybe donate it to farmers and hunters feeding the hungry, and just kind of take that extra time, and do something special for somebody that's less fortunate than you.
Now, are they on social media?
Yeah, they are. I don't have their site in front of me, but I believe it's, if you were to type in farmers and hunters feeding the hungry, I think it's fhfh.org, but they're on Facebook and their website, and you can, there's hundreds of different butcher shops around that were signed up with them for processing. They'll process it for farmers and hunters and take care of it from there once you kind of donate it.
That's great, and it's just another way that listeners that you can help um, people in your area. Because I'll guarantee you, I don't care where you live, there's somebody going hungry to bed
Yeah.
hungry tonight. I mean, there's no food on the table.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's something that I'm fortunate to not know firsthand, but I've seen it up close, and it breaks your heart, that there's people that go to bed hungry or don't know where their next meal is going to come from. So that's a good way to help.
So, Ryan, what's next for you in your career? Where's it going?
Well, I'm kind of excited. We just came off of a new album. Paint It Red was the last EP I put out, and last summer we were pretty thrilled. I had the opportunity. I spent 17 weeks on Billboard's chart with a single off of that called "Spin Me," and it was an album that we actually crowdfunded. Interestingly enough, my fans raised the money for the recording of the album, and they raised over $21,000 to make it come true. And so we went out and we paid our respects for them, and kind of have spent the last couple of years promoting that album. And of course, to be able to spend 17 weeks as an independent artist on Billboard's country indicator chart was a big deal. And music video to that actually went on Great American Country and got a little bit of TV time, so that was cool. So moving forward, I've been writing some new music that I'm anxious to get out. I'm in the early stages of planning for an album for next year. Not sure if we'll crowdfund it or if we'll find other ways of funding for it, but we're just making new music to reach out to new audience, and we've I just recently signed a booking deal with a booking agency, Goliath Entertainment, out of the Mid Atlantic region, and they're going to be booking me on some stuff next year. We're anxious to get out to some areas of the country where I haven't performed a whole lot at this point, and meet some new fans and meet some new people, and hopefully it ties it into some areas of the country that I haven't been to in a while, but I have a lot of fan base in, and up in upstate New York and Long Island area and kind of the Northeast. So really excited about that, and we've been put some new music out, playing it live, and it's just been an awesome. There's always something new and exciting, and that's what's so cool about it. And I never know when I'm going to get the next really cool phone call or really cool person wanting me to come play with them, and that's, I think, one of the things I love about this.
Let's go back on the crowdfunding. I know most of the listeners know something about it, but just tell me so I can tell them and they can hear. How does that work?
Well, what we did was we used a platform called Kickstarter, and we had to kind of lay out our plan of what we wanted to do. That we wanted to do an album, and that it would include, we said at first 5 songs, but we ended up doing 6. And then we offered prizes for people to get involved in, like for instance, that if you spent $50, you got like an album when it came out, signed autographed album. And then if you spent 100, you got like an album and a T-shirt. And then we had prizes where you would, if you spent so much money, we would come out and perform at your house for a party with myself. I would come, or I would bring a band out for more money, and then I did several phone call interviews where I just kind of called people at their house and thanked them personally, and we kind of chatted and on the phone and talked to some people that knew me and some people that had never met me before, just getting a chance to have a personal conversation. And we gave away a few signed guitars, but it was really cool because everyone got involved and kind of vested in it. So that when it actually, you don't, with that particular thing, if you don't get 100% of your goal amount, you get nothing. So it was an all or nothing thing. And
Oh my goodness, all in.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
so you got to set a goal that you think will get you the money you need to do the project you want to do, and you've got to hit it. So it was up to the last few days of the program, and you set it for, like, I think we set it for 45 days, and we raised over $21,000. And what was cool was everybody that donated, every time someone would donate, I would get a little email notification. And so, like, we were getting email notifications of all these different things. And then, of course, we keep all their information for if we get it to make the prize. And so of course, we achieved our goal. We exceeded it. And so then we spent the next several weeks of once we did that we called the producer and said, hey, guess what, we got the money, we're able to do this album, let's do it. And so he starts booking studio time and booking musicians and getting that together. And it was it was an awesome process, just start to finish, and being able to share every little update with people, like, hey, we're real close, or hey, we just achieved it, or hey, we just booked the studio time. It was awesome, and everybody got to kind of join in. And it was a great experience. It was a lot of work. It obviously it should be. They're giving their hard earned money, and it shouldn't just be like throwing money into a bucket. It was a lot of hard work, but man, it really paid off, and it was awesome to be able to share that with my fans.
Would you do that again?
Man, it was so much work that I would do it again. I mean, obviously, we want to do a new album. I've come in my life. My first album, I paid for out of pocket. But after a couple years of touring, I didn't have the funds just sitting in an account ready to pay the thousands that it takes to record it. So, I guess I should answer the question and say yes. But I would hope that we would find another way to fund it and not have to reach out for their money. But at the same point, I know that they'd be there if we needed it.
Yeah, listeners, if somebody invites you to get involved in this crowdfunding or whatever, it resonates with you, go help them out. That's the only thing I can say. Just go help them out, because if it's important to you, then invest in it.
And after doing that, I invested in several other artist projects, and it was really fun and rewarding on the other side to see them sharing their joy of what they were doing, and knowing that your money helped to make it happen. It kind of, so I've seen both sides of it, and it's a cool opportunity.
Again, Ryan, how do people get in touch with you?
You can reach out to me at ryanbroshear.com. You can see my tour schedule and all my links to all my social medias there. Probably the easiest way is maybe through Facebook or through Twitter. I'm also on Instagram too. I don't know if that's the easiest way to send an actual message, but you can reach out to me on those platforms, and I run all of my stuff. So be more than happy to respond back personally and strike up a conversation. I'd be glad to hear from you.
That's great. At the time of the show, you get to do some shout outs to whomever, family, friends, colleagues. So have at it.
Well, I'll give a shout out to my hunting kind of inspiration and hookup, Big Mike up in Indiana, and my brother-in-law Mike Jr. And Mike Metz, and just really good folks, and really good custodians of whitetail hunting, and have taught me a lot. And I'm hoping that we have a good fall this year, and we can put some meat in the freezer, and maybe, who knows, maybe put one on the wall too.
That's great. So with that, thanks from thousands and thousands of listeners across North America. And I hope somebody turns in your radio station, iTunes, wherever it is, and listen to some of your song. What's your favorite song that you should listen to?
Well, if you were going to listen to one song that would kind of get you pumped up, and maybe kind of be that one song that kind of lets you go, okay, well, maybe I can download more of his music or listen to more. I have a song called "Let Your Redneck Out," and it's kind of a party song. It's about letting go, and it's about everybody might have a little redneck side every now and then, and sometimes you got to let it out. So it's just a fun party song. Check it out.
And with that, we're going to say thanks, Ryan Broshear, for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Next up on Whitetail Rendezvous is John O'Brien from Grandpa Ray Outdoors. John's been an agronomist for over 25 years, and with the rage and the explosion of food plots, he's helping people throughout the country learning how to plant, when to plant, why to plant, how to plant, and how to take care of the soil to grow white-tailed deer, to give them the nutrition they need, not only during the summer times, but in the spring when they're lactating or buck's horns are starting to grow. It's a year-round business, folks, and it's a year-round endeavor for each one of you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy John O'Brien from Grandpa Ray Outdoors.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.